Hello, you're watching News9 Live. A yellow alert has been issued in Bengaluru, the IT hub Silicon Valley of the East. Deputy Chief Minister G.K. Shivakumar held a meeting with all the commissioners to take stock of the situations. Warnings have been issued to Bangaloreans to not venture anywhere close to underpasses or highways. Stay put is the message. So far, so good. But this is a recurring menace in the IT hub. In the recent past, a 22-year-old techie, Bhanureka, working for Infosys, lost her life when the car she was traveling in drowned in a flooded underpass. Then came the death of Lokesh, who was all of 27, who also fell to his death in the inundated city. Every year, it is the same scenario. Clogged drains, flooded roads and homes, even as this IT hub of a city is showcased by subsequent governments as world class. But the reality on the ground during pre-monsoon, monsoon and post-monsoon is anything but world class. And now it has perhaps peaked to an extent that many IT companies are either grinning or bearing it or actually thinking of moving out of Bengaluru. For instance, in 2022, the Outer Ring Road Association wrote to the then Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai claiming that the Bengaluru IT companies had suffered a loss of 225 crore rupees as most of the employees were stuck in the traffic for almost 4 to 5 hours. I know what you're thinking. Is that even reason enough? It is. Absolutely. You know, now the thing is that we all did work from home during COVID. Now it's work from traffic. You just sit there and you start your work, you log in, because that's the way to go, at least in Bengaluru. Have the IT companies had enough? Are they now saying that you have to solve this or else we have to look for alternatives? Joining me first up, TV Mohandas Pai, chairperson of the Manipal Global Education Services. He's joining us. He's already there. Mr. Pai, good evening to you. Mr. Pai, you know, last year we saw the kind of, you had tweeted, you had tagged the Prime Minister, you had tagged the then Chief Minister also and several others and said enough is enough. Now you look at the situation right now, you know, we were just thinking, the production team and I, we were sitting, we said visuals, last year visuals also looked the same, the year before last also. You can just do cut and paste, Mr. Pai. What is this? Is it, you know, I remember your tweet and I spoke to you then and you said, look, it is not about this government or that government. Subsequent governments have really failed. What is, I mean, what's your opinion this time around, this year as it were?
Look, all governments have been callous. They've been promising investment. They never say no to us, but nothing happens to the ground. There is deep corruption in the BBMP. Every time something happens, money is allocated, large sums of money are eaten up and used for payment for old projects. It's been a recurring occurrence for many reasons, because Bangalore is a very rich city. Most politicians use Bangalore as a cash cow to make money, and they pay lip sympathy to people. They're very busy making money. We've seen it happen for the last so many years. It's not the government of the BJP or the Congress. We've seen all of them do something together, and it's been very disgusting, and we've been fighting it out. Now we have Mr. D.K. Shivakumar, and D.K. Shivakumar is a very dynamic person. I know he hopes to be the future Chief Minister of Karnataka, and he's got the Bangalore portfolio. Sadly, Chief Minister Bommai never gave the Bangalore portfolio to anybody. He kept it with him, and he was too busy running the state to do anything for Bangalore. Even though he promised projects, he came and saw the flood area and the outer ring road. Nothing happened after that, because you need a very tough man who is going to crack heads, who is going to break heads and put the fear of the government in the people who have to work. And that, I think, the earlier Chief Minister was not able to do. I hope D.K. Shivakumar now takes it up, because he's the Minister for Bangalore. He's the future Chief Minister of the state, and he has to prove himself. So there is hope, and I hope something happens. The only way it will work, Sudha, is if the Bangalore Minister, Sri D.K. Shivakumar, dismisses 100, 200 very corrupt people in the BDA and the BBMP and puts the fear of the government in them, saying that non-performance is not acceptable. For example, look at the underpasses which flood. They've been flooding for the last 15, 20 years. It's a wrong design. There is no drain out. There is no drain out. Where is the drain for the water to go? Or the drains are blocked. Even in the flood and the outer ring road, why did the water stand for so many days? Because the drains were blocked. First of all, the Raja Kalve was shortened, thin, and then the drains are blocked. They don't even clean the drains. They possibly take away the money. So it is a question of bad management. Hopefully now we have the Minister for Bangalore and we live in hope.
Yeah, but you know, I'll go to the other guests as well. But before I come back to you yet again, Mr. Pai, the thing is, what is, you know, every time we say that, okay, we have hope. Now there is a new government, you know, they had a fabulous victory. But I'm very nervous. We've seen all these politicians. You know what he will say, what is very trite and cliched. What can I do? There has been so much corruption. I have taken so much time to clean that out. So you cannot expect me to do miracles. So I'm asking you, Mr. Pai, are miracles, what they call miracles, what you call improvement, is the baby step possible at all, Mr. Pai?
No, it is possible. You know, Sudha, is possible. There are some 10, 12 issues about Bangalore, which all of us are written down. And one is underpasses and flooding. That means the big drains, Raja Kalves have to be cleaned up. We know where the drains are. We know where the flooding happens every year. We have to clean up the drains. And the government has to make it happen. If DK Shivakumar goes there and stands there every day, 1 hour a day for 1 week, it will happen. Government knows how to get things done. He can do it. Second, there are some 10 or 12 high-speed corridors where there are problems. R.K. Mishra has given them the solution. They know about it. Naresh Narasimhan has given them solution. They have to do. And look at our disastrous metro. The metro is 3 to 4 years behind schedule. You know, the earlier India government could not even get the railway ministry, despite being a double-engine government, to get the railway permission to put that bridge, the steel bridge over that place. It took a lot of time. And now by July, we're going to have this white field. I think the government should review the metro and tell them to hasten up and complete all the work. And if you look at the metro work, below the place where metro is going, you know, there are debris, there is a mess. It is a management issue. It's a management issue. We need a strong Bangalore minister. Hopefully, DK Shivakumar will do it, because DK Shivakumar, you know, he's got a track record of doing what he promises. So let's hope.
Let's try. Yeah, we all live in hope. Brinda Adige, who's an activist, is also joining us, and also Sandeep Aniruddhan, convener of Citizens Agenda for Bengaluru. A very warm welcome to both of you. You know, I decided, of course, you know, Sandeep, you don't live in Bangalore, you live in Mysore, isn't that right? But then I tried to get as many. Sorry?
I live in Bengaluru,
You
and
live in
perhaps
Bengaluru.
the worst part of Bengaluru called Whitefield, the Silicon Valley of India.
Yeah, you know, and I've called all of you, you know, I've called all of you because you're all denizens of Bengaluru. You didn't parachute there from Delhi, Bombay, sorry, or anywhere else. So you know the ground reality, as it were. First up, Brinda Adige. Brinda, thank you so much, and then I'll go to Sandeep. You know, Brinda, I want to ask you, like every year, like I was telling Mr. Pai, it is the same scenario. You know, when Bhanu Rekha passed, my heart really broke. And it is not only, Bhanu Rekha is a symptom. But the point is, everything has been said about this mess that the rains create every year. Now the thing is, they said there is corruption, 40% Sarkara. Then we said, oh, BBMP elections have not taken place for more than 2 years. That has to be in place. But tell me something. Why is it that apart from everything else, this is the IT hub, Brinda. This is something that we showcase to the world. And you know, this brings revenue. I mean, this IT industry, when we talk about exports, it is doing fabulously well. We have graphics also to show how much money it generates. Then where is the problem, Brinda Adige? What is, you know, you cannot perhaps spoil the best thing that you have in your life, right?
You're absolutely right, Sudha. The best things in our life have already been spoilt. But like you mentioned, there is always space and technology and expertise for course correction. And that means to put the best minds together to find out what is the next alternative to be done. Monitor it in case somebody mentioned that there are a lot of corrupt people in the corporations, in the municipal corporations. If you are so sure and you know of all of them, A, you have to start legal proceedings. B, remove them, shift them out from there, suspend them. Don't tell us that, you know, there are no workers, because there is a lot of vacancies. So the government today has to literally move on a war footing and say that my citizens in Bengaluru and the other towns and cities in Karnataka cannot continue to suffer like this, which means very hard decisions have to be taken. Now, Mr. Siddaramaiah is as the CM will have to give his go, and Mr. DK Shivkumar has to put his foot down and ensure that the job is done. No matter how powerful those in power just now are in these municipal corporations, remove them from there. There's going to be a lot of bad blood. So
Right.
what? Your citizens are more important. And remember that these citizens are ones who are paying our taxes, and all of this is at our cost.
Right.
We also suffer it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we don't want.
But
so
then, you know,
monitoring and
yeah.
accountability,
Yeah, but Sandeep, you know,
holding people accountable. It's
you know,
not
both-
enough just to monitor.
right, you say hold people accountable, get rid of them, there are enough people. Mr. Pai also said, you know, this corruption, these people who don't work, we have to do something about it. Sandeep, do you think it is as easy? We saw the election results in Bengaluru. I don't want to go into it. Done enough. There is a new government in place, so maybe, you know, they will get their act together. But, you know, Mr. Pai spoke about Raja Kalve. You have spoken a lot. You've done a lot of work. You have kind of brought it to the public, as it were. Do you think it is as easy to be done? So first, DK Shivakumar, who's known to walk the talk, is, you know, very, very assertive. Do you think it's going to be? Don't you think it's going to be very tough for him to kind of start afresh? Where do you start from?
Sudha, for DK Shivkumar, we have only one mandate. The only mandate is to make the job of a Bengaluru minister redundant. It is not the job of a state minister to run the city. The city needs its own city government. It needs a mayor. It needs councillors. It needs to be empowered. All the services of the city have to be unified under the city government. The city, first and foremost, needs a planning authority. We don't have a planning authority. That is why the city is a mess. It's not because the state government is inefficient. It is wrong to expect the state government to administer a city.
All
It
right.
is wrong to expect one DK Shivkumar to stand at every underpass. I mean, it's stupidity. What we need is a change of thinking, something that has not worked for 75 years. Why do we expect it to work? I can give it to you in writing that if the state government continues status quo, it will fail. This city is already at a point of no return. It will get worse. We don't have time to do this. 30 years back, the parliament, in its wisdom, enacted the 74th Amendment. It clearly said devolution is the key. You need
Yes.
to have a planning authority for a city, so there is a sustainable development plan.
Right.
For 30 years, we didn't have a plan. So what are these oldies who keep saying, oh, let the status quo continue, let's not have a planning authority. Let some stupid consultants like R.K. Mishra come and say, build flyovers, and we'll build that. The problem with Bengaluru is that consultants like these come and give some stupid ad hoc projects, which is illegal under the law. It is against the constitution. We
Very
should
strong
get rid of
words.
the status quo. See,
Very,
this
very
status quo
strong
works
words
for
there.
corruption.
Yeah,
Huh?
you very strong words there, Sandeep. I must say, you know, Mr. Pai, you know, would you respond to what Sandeep said? If you don't want to, then I will ask you something.
TV and talk.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
No, Sudha, can I talk first, please?
Yes, sir.
Look, people must have sense before they point finger at us. Today we have a crisis. We have been talking to government about breaking up Bangalore into 5, corporations, having a major. They pass a law. The law went to president. It did not work. We know all this. And if we live in cuckoo land to think that they're going to wave a ban and change government, it's not going to happen. Today there is a crisis. We have a Bangalore minister. He has to put his head and solve the crisis. Then bring about sustainable long-term reforms. And for those reforms to take place, it's going to take you 5-10 years.
Right.
We got to survive then. The problem is survival. You can have a planning authority, they'll plan for 5 years. You got to implement it. It's not that a planning authority can be appointed tomorrow and suddenly it will happen. It's not that you have a BBMP election tomorrow and suddenly it will happen. We have a crisis. We have to solve the crisis today, then bring in governance reform to make it sustainable. And we can't have the same one city corporation running because Bangalore is too big for one city corporation to run.
Right.
The earlier Congress government had brought in a law to say we'll break up Bangalore into 5 corporations, have 5 mayors. That is the best thing to do because Bangalore has to be manageable. London has 24, I think 24 wards or councils or whatever it is managed London. At the top, we have a planning authority, transport authority, etc. The models are all there. They're all there with government. But today, how do we survive for the next 1 year? That's the big issue we have to talk about first.
Absolutely. But I will also, Mr. Pai, talk to you about the focus of the debate is a lot of IT companies are now apparently fed up. You know, we've been speaking to a lot of them. They say off the record. They say, I mean, I've been speaking since morning. They say off the record, Sudha, we just want to move, but it's not like you said. Is it possible like that? No, it requires planning. Where will you go? Telangana, whether it is Chennai, I'm not naming names, but they have options. They say that this city has let us down. We came here, we set it up. Now that's another conversation. Someone, you know, will say, oh, you ruined it. I'm not getting into all that, Mr. Pai. But I'm asking you that, you know, an industry which, you know, the city has nearly 6,000 IT companies and counting. It contributes $58 billion in exports. Mr. Pai, you've been part of this industry. Do you think that the IT industry is absolutely right in thinking about enough? Let's say namaskara to Bengaluru now.
No, I think the IT industry is right. We are 23 lakh people out of 1.2 crore people working in Bangalore in technology. That's a huge thing. Technology in Bangalore makes up 25% of Karnataka's GDP. I hope the people in Vidhan Sabha understand how big this industry is and the taxes that we pay. Being Bangalore, not expanding in Bangalore, going to other cities. We are exporting jobs from the state. Where are the jobs for the young people if the IT industry also goes away? This is the largest job creator in Karnataka every single year. And what will the young people do? The government should have some sense to understand this, talk to the IT industry, and make sure that all these things are done immediately in the next 6 to 8 months, because we have to clean up Bangalore. We have to clean up the drains. There are problem areas which can be solved in 6 months to make an improvement. Remember when DCP Salim came there, Dr. Salim came, he brought about an improvement in about 1 month in at least certain traffic. A 10-15% improvement can come. We have to complete the metro. So I think we need focus the next 6 months and then bring in government reforms, governance reform, which will take time. And the impact of the governance reform is going to take even more time, but we have to survive till then. IT industry is very upset. I know many of them are going away. They're not talking about it. They're expanding in other cities. Yes. And it's a big shame for Bangalore and Karnataka.
Absolutely. And that is coming from Mr. Mohandas Pai, you know, who's been part of the industry. And that's the question we are asking. You can see it here. Bengaluru fails IT sector, a sector which has generated jobs, which has generated a lot of money. This is what Bengaluru does to it. Brinda, I want to ask you something, and you know, of course our focus is on IT, and that's because it's a cash cow. I mean, it's something which has delivered, and Bengaluru was put on the world map because of a vibrant IT industry there. Every other state tried, Brinda, but then they failed. They could never ever replicate what was happening in Bengaluru. It is the culture also, of course. It is the infrastructure. It is the ease of doing, you know, conducting your business. I want to ask you that this is what I mean. What is wrong with those in authority when Bhanureka passed away? You know, it is just a very terrible coincidence that she worked for Infosys, this little girl, 22-year-old young girl. The point is, we heard all these comments. Oh, why did the driver go under the underpass? He should not have gone. Why are you people, you know, taking the, flyover? Don't go, don't take the highway. And I was just thinking, is that the response that you expect? So, you know, somewhere, Brinda, there is a systemic kind of, fault in the very thought, the way people are administering Bengaluru.
You're absolutely right. There is a systemic flaw, and these flaws are generated by the functionaries. They claim to be experts without having any vision. Now, how can you even think of a planning? How can you think of building anything, constructing anything if you don't have a vision? And if your vision is so short-sighted, like it is 6 years, 7 years. Now, somebody mentioned the steel flyover. The steel flyover has been debunked by experts, by experts within BBMP also. So why is this fetish to continue with it? You want to cut off the trees. You want to have a steel flyover, which is only going to give you a respite of about 7 minutes. At the cost of what? So that is why though Sandeep, what he said is the 74th Amendment and, implementing 74th Amendment, having separate governance is paramount. It is primary, it is required. But what do we do for the next 6 months? What is it that we must do to change something over here? We cannot tell people don't go under the pass, don't go overpass, don't go around the pass and all that. That has to be corrected. And that correction, we have expertise, we have technology, we need the will.
Absolutely. Like Mr. Pai also said, it's an emergency, it's a crisis situation. So we need a quick fix, not a quick fix, he didn't say that. I'm saying we need people to really act, be alert and do something and hit the ground running now. We don't have the time. Sandeep, let me come to you and I'm going to play the devil's advocate here so far as the IT industry is concerned. R. Ashoka, who was the former revenue minister, he had attacked, the IT industry last year and he had said, and I'm going to read out, we have asked our officers to demolish any encroachments, whether it's rich or poor. More than 30 IT companies have encroached stormwater drains. They only talk big, but many of these companies and builders have encroached. So what happened was when the IT industry says, listen, it's a crisis situation, we can't be working on, I can't reach office after 3 hours every day. This was the reaction. Do you think, I'm talking about IT companies, why? Because usually, not all, they have a plan, they decide, they look at whether they have all the permissions, whether it's environmental friendly, the way it is built. But do you think the IT sector in Bengaluru has also done what others do, with impunity, that is violate laws and build everywhere?
So let's have clarity. The IT industry is not in the business of constructing buildings. They are in the business of delivering software and tech services. They
have to sit somewhere, no?
No, wait. The buildings in which they sit, the IT parks belong normally to the land mafia and ministers. Many ministers in the present government have some of the largest IT constructions, like basically tech parks and stuff like that. It is those builders and politicians who have violated these Rajakalves, not the IT companies.
Sandeep, I will interject and I think Brinda will agree with me. If I work in a place, in a building, which is not built by my employers, but it's a rented thing where they employ little children to bring me tea, I will walk. I will protest. So I'm saying, did the IT companies ever, instead of complaining, also did take corrective measures is my question at the end of it. Because the minister R. Ashoka, the former minister said, you are also guilty. The thing is, do you think the guilt can also be parked at the IT sector's doorstep?
See, first of all, Sudha, the IT sector in Bengaluru, you have to understand the context. Bengaluru is one of the most corrupt cities in India. Every department, every level there is corruption. Historically, it has been one of the worst in culture. So, if you ask me why did the IT sector grow in Bangalore, it's because the government officials and politicians initially did not understand what IT is. So, it was able to grow because nobody understood it. If government understood the potential of IT, they would have fleeced it and they would have ensured that it did not grow. Bengaluru would never have been the software capital of India. But now I'm looking at it purely technically. If I'm an IT, say, software entrepreneur or a businessman, I'm not constructing a building. I'm looking for a place to rent. So I am not committing those violations. Technically, most residents of the city and even business owners will not understand the nitty-gritties of law, violations, where the Rajakalves are. Yeah.
I don't agree. You think someone like Mr. Mohandas Pai, he's here. I'm not flattering him. But one of his peers, Mr. Pai, won't you understand that if you are renting out a building which is violating the basic rules and laws, won't you be able to, say that what is this?
Sudha, please remember, when you rent a building, what do? You ask for a plan sanction.
Exactly.
Plan is sanctioned. If the plan is sanctioned wrongly, what do? You don't know. You don't have the expertise. You take the plan sanction, you see whether they paid their taxes, etc. And then you start working there, right? And please remember, Sudha, there are 30,000 IT companies in Bangalore, big and small. 30,000.
Okay.
30,000 IT companies. The IT parks have been built by people who have got sanctions, who got approval. Lawyers have gone through it. Lawyers have said, yes, it is kosher. Everything else is there. Now, if the planning people, the BBMP people have got a wrong thing, allowed them to do something illegal which is not there on record, what do you expect these companies to do? The BBMP has to give an occupation certificate. Occupation certificate is responsible to the BBMP. If they give an occupation certificate, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to say the occupation certificate is illegal? You can't do all that.
Right.
R. Ashok blaming IT companies, he must have his head examined. Because these are all these politicians who pass the buck just to say we are not responsible. You know who R. Ashok is. We know what R. Ashok is. We've seen him for the last 20 years, right? I mean, they're just trying to pass the buck and fob off everybody. Don't go by what statements he makes.
Right. Now,
The
I want to...
key is,
Yeah.
Who gave the approval? Who gave the occupation certificate?
Yeah.
What did they inspect? What did they do? That is the question we have to ask.
Yeah, because you know, at what I was always also getting, you're absolutely right. I'm not there to sit. If it's kosher, then I move in, you know, absolutely. But the point is, the thing was, IT, do not complain IT industry when there is water logging, etc., because you should have checked. Anyway, that's a very long shot. Yes. Mr. Pai, I also want to ask you, no elections in BBMP. I mean, all kinds of reasons are given, delimitation, reservation, this, that, nothing. Don't you think that if you have to make a beginning, you can make a beginning from there, Mr. Pai?
Yes, they have to have BBMP elections. Supreme Court has passed an order. They have to obey the law. They're not obeying the law. I hope the new government under Siddaramaiah will, announce the election and start the election because they got a good possibility of winning. They must have a BBMP election. Nobody is saying the election should not be there. Elections are required. You know, Sudha, we have been working in the BPAC for the last 12 years to train grassroots young civic activists to become ward councillors. We have trained 350 people. About 200 have joined all political parties.
Right.
Hopefully, many of them will contest. They are good people. Hopefully, we have to change the politics because last time, out of 200 people or ward councillors, 108 or 118 were all real estate brokers. The wrong people become ward councillors. So we have to change the grassroots politics.
Right.
We have been working large amounts of money for 12 years to train these people. And then next, maybe a lot of them are contesting also. We have to now have grassroots reforms. But that will take time. That will take, elections have to be held. That will take time. Now, for the next 6 months, the monsoon is coming. More flooding will happen. We need urgent action. We have to solve that and have the elections along with it.
Right. Sandeep, in response to that, if you have to really hit the ground running, Sandeep, then what is the way out? I mean, where does one start from? If I ask you, because you have been, you know, speaking about this at various forums, and I've heard you, I've read you extensively. So, you know, I'm asking you that if, like Mr. Pai says, and the monsoons are going to hit, Brinda also says it happens every year, where does one start from?
So that's very simple. What you are asking me a question about is about readiness of the government.
Yeah.
So basically, it's disaster readiness. Disaster readiness is something that's basic. The government should always have it. In fact, it is mandated that every ward should have a disaster committee. It is not there. That's because our government doesn't care.
All right.
Secondly, this repeats every year. And if you see, the BBMP always reacts after. It's never proactive.
Right.
Lastly, because in all fairness, you have to see that BBMP is not well equipped. It doesn't have enough staffing.
Okay.
And thirdly, it doesn't have enough devolution. See, BBMP is toying with a ward committee exercise for the last couple of years because the High Court has mandated it to do so. And there are ward committees in existence, but the meetings happen, then they stop happening. With the elections happening, ward committee meetings were stopped for about 4 to 6 weeks, I think almost 2 months. But when the ward committee meetings happen, there is high level of interaction between citizens and their immediate engineers in the ward of all different services. So the response of officials is also very quick. We see a significant improvement in performance of local government when the wards are functioning. And this is why I keep saying 74th Amendment is the way to go, because our governance should be ground up. It should not be top down. Every model that has a Bengaluru development minister or the state government managing the city is top down, and it is always inefficient. If it is bottom up, with ward committees playing an important part, and zones can be the second level, and the city government with a mayor, an empowered mayor of 5 years, with an which is devolved and decentralized, this will take care of the city. people say, people have never tried it and they say, oh, how is that possible? No, it is possible and it's possible immediately. This is how governments are run worldwide. Even the example of London with all its boroughs and everything, it works bottom up. That's why it functions well. And the planning is always bottom up, but with the planning authority. As long as we don't have a planning authority, and as long as all services are not integrated, our city will not work. Now, disaster response is not an excuse to delay 74th Amendment implementation. 74th Amendment implementation is just a demand to have a planning authority. The result you see today of Bengaluru is not having planning authority for the last 3 decades. That should change. We should have a planning authority immediately so that we can course correct. You should have a decentralized BBMP with a lot of civic participation.
Yeah.
Only with civic participation can we get officials to be answerable to citizens directly. And we should have ward councillors.
So devolution.
This will change the face of the city.
That's what Sandeep is saying, devolution. He says that's the only way out for things to work. And you know, we were talking about, you can keep showcasing the Silicon Valley of the East, Bengaluru, you know, the IT hub, and you know, but the truth is, I'm not being sarcastic here. The thing is, there is a huge contribution. I mean, they contribute, and if the graphics can be up about the kind of contribution that the IT sector makes, you know, to the, whether it's revenue, it's reputation, whether it's, you know, global hub, everything, it is actually unprecedented at one level. And I think Bengaluru owes it to the IT sector to kind of improve, get its act together. Brinda Adige, you know, a lot of people, I know that, you know, we have all now been numbed into thinking that you have this, no, you get your food, you go to your workplace, just keep quiet. You know, somehow we become like that, you know, we just numb, we just make do with what we have, and the rest we buy with all the money that we have and feel very happy. Oh, I went shopping today. I'm saying that, would you really blame IT companies if they say, lock, stock and barrel, we are leaving, we are going? Or would you say, where is resilience? Why don't you stay back? There is hope, things will improve.
Absolutely. IT companies cannot absolve themselves of that kind of a responsibility because somewhere along the line they allowed something like this to happen. So no matter what anybody says, I think they need to stay put and these changes happen. I completely agree with everything, but we need execution and enforcement happen immediately. And that can happen only if you have the civil society, the ward committees involved in everything. Otherwise, to get just the functionaries when the funds are is being pulled from elsewhere.
Right.
Involve the ward committees, civil society, and IT companies seem to be in a better bargaining power to also demand for something like that. And they have to take responsibility. Responsibility that they have their staff over here and they have put up some structure which they have monies and all. In other, these companies responsibility for the community where they have set up. Important, these do similar work in other countries, take up the same responsibility in a city like Bangalore.
Right, Brinda, but you know, you say that they have to take up responsibility, but they have to run a business, I say. You know, at the end of the day, they have to look at the P&Ls. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. Mr. Pai, a lot of people have messaged me and they say that, is it that easy? People may be talking about IT companies, may have spoken to you in the morning or afternoon. But the point is, the kind of infrastructure, the kind of logistics that we have in Bengaluru, I don't think any other city in India can really give that. So we'll all have to grin and bear it and think that maybe... Yes, sir.
Sudha, Bangalore can be changed in 6 months by doing some simple things. One, clean up Bangalore. There is marked debris all over the place. Please clean it up. Does it take money? Does it take any great, management? It does not. You have to clean up Bangalore. Second, you know the places where the traffic is in bad shape. You have to work to find a solution. Third, you must make sure that you focus the metro and try to finish the Whitefield line and some other lines so that people use the metro. You must improve the public transport so that people don't take the vehicle, don't spend time on the roads. There are many things that can be done. Then you must improve the governance of Bangalore because that's the only long-term sustainable thing. All of us have been talking to government for 30 years, Sudha. I've been talking to government for 30 years. I spent up my money, my energy doing all this thing. All these people who come and say, oh, the IT industry don't understand how much the IT industry has done and worked with government all these years. But what do you do with government if the government is immovable? The problem with Karnataka is, Sudha, people's government says yes. They never said no to us for 30 years. Martini, Haudu, Aitu, Madana, doesn't happen. You go to him once, twice, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, 30 times. We keep on doing. What do you do? I don't know what to do. All these people who come and talk on TV now, these wannabes, they must work hard for 10, 20 years. Go to the council, they must take it up. You know, we have spent money on creating BPAC and a new generation of leaders. Okay, they must come. We need the elections. We need all this. I can have a radical suggestion to all these people who come and talk to you. Let us have a public protest in Bangalore. Call for a public protest. Let us all march on the streets. And we marched once. We all organized it long time ago, 2 times. One for the Hosur Road and one for Bangalore. Let us all march on the street. Let us make it a very big issue. The government is forced to act because the government will react to citizens' activism. We must do that. Let us do that. I want these 2 people who come and talk to you to lead because they know all the solutions. Then they have all the answers. Let them lead and we'll all follow them and march on the street and let us protest.
Yeah,
the only way to get government to act is to protest in a democracy because things are not happening.
Right.
You know, but Brinda, do you think the government will give up power in Bangalore? That is the source of money for all of them. Do you think they'll give up power? They will not do it, Brinda. They will, Sudha, they will not do it. We have to force them. We have to protest. We have to raise a voice. We need civic activists on the streets to come and protest.
Yeah, and then you'll be called Andolan GV, Mr. Pai.
Doesn't matter. The city belongs to us, Sudha. City doesn't belong to anybody. City belongs to us. We are born here. I am born here long time ago. I lived here. I paid taxes here. I spent my money for the city development. We must all march. We must do it. That's the only solution because we are all desperate.
Right.
It's an act of desperation.
Right.
And then you must go to court, get court orders. A lot of things have to be done.
Brinda Adige, you wanted to come in. I saw you raise your hand, Brinda. Please go ahead.
I said yes, but please, we are protesting on a daily basis. Now we are, and that is why that government went and we have this government. Now this government cannot ask us again to say, you come to the streets and only then we'll do our job. That is not fair to the citizens. What the government must do is, like you pointed out, Mr. Pai, 6 months' time, there is expertise available, there is funds available. If there is no funds and you make it available because our taxes are sitting there with you, put your will to it. Create an ombudsman, have civil society involved in it with officers who are willing to walk the talk and get this job done. Simultaneously, we want the 74th Amendment, which means BBMP elections must continue to happen, must happen.
All right. Sandeep, I'm giving you the last word. Please go ahead. Do you want to respond to what Mr. Pai said? Said, let's march, let it be a people's movement. Let's just hit the streets. Maybe then they will stop saying do you agree with that?
Sudha, we have held protests again and again. In 7 to 8 years back, Whitefield was a complete mess because of rapid growth. There was no infrastructure. We didn't even have roads. And we had 10,000 people march. That was one of the first civic marches in Bangalore. We were all on the street and suddenly the government infrastructure jumped into action and fixed a lot of the roads.
Right.
Yes, it works. In fact, when the steel flyover bridge was proposed by the consultant contractor Nexus, same thing, about 8,000 people, we all stood in a human chain around Bengaluru and we got it cancelled. Of course, with legal help as well. There were a lot of court cases filed. Similarly, there is a lake that is encroached in Whitefield and the BBMP itself is building an illegal road on top of the lake buffer zone to help land mafia interests. Even then, the 5,000 people came out when we called for a protest. We stood there and the road got stalled. But again, the next government started work. So we keep dealing with it as and when necessary. But let's address the elephant in the room. See, I will point blank tell you, IT industry is not responsible for the civic governance mess or the lack of planning.
No one said that.
Wait. Let me complete my statement. It is not their job to do monitor buildings, They are here to run a business and they are paying taxes. Bengaluru has one of the highest taxes in the country thanks to the IT industry's exports. Okay, that is their job. They're doing it. Where have we failed? The city has failed. The city has failed to have
Yeah,
a
but I
planning
think
authority.
it's but you know, you have protested. Brinda said they do it on a daily basis. Mr. Pai saying let it be a huge, this time around, a huge people's, you know, movement. And of course, our focus today was on IT industries wanting to move lock, stock and barrel. But it's for every Bangalorean. I mean, you are Bangaloreans, and I mean, I have people in Bangalore, and I think we owe it to Bangalore. Every government owes it to Bangalore. You know, so thank you so much. I've completely run out of time. Thanks are due to Mr. Mohan Das Pai, to Brinda Adige, and also to Sandeep Anirudhan. So, like I said, the government, whether it's the Congress government or any other government, they owe it to Bengaluru, and particularly to the Silicon Valley of the East, which brings them money, and that being Bengaluru. Namaskara.